Three, two, one. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Say Something fam. Excited to be here. You may see a little bit different look, a little bit different feel, but it's the same old show, the same old homies sitting in a little bit different of chairs set up and stuff like that. But we're ready to rock, and we hope you like it. There's also some new surprises to come with this setup. So that's the reason that we're here now today in front of y'all. But we have some awesomeness today to go over as always. And before we do that, we're going to go into our homie check-in, which we always hope we give you a little bit of time to, if you're watching this with somebody, take that moment, check in with who you're sitting with, make sure everything is good to go. That way we can put the green light behind and put the gas down. So Mitch, how you feeling? Check in, let them know.
Man, feeling good. Had a good weekend in Santa Cruz. Enjoying this new setup that we got going.
Yes, sir.
Excited for the future and what we got coming. So I'm just excited, man. How about you?
I'm good, man. I'm super juiced. I got an A in that class.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. So, I'm going for that 4.0. As you guys know, on this master's journey, I'm going to keep you guys up to date, but exciting to get my feet down, 10 toes down in a good start. And I got good faith in what I'm going to do as a student. So I'm feeling good. I got class the 26th. So that's literally next Monday, I think. Yeah. And so, we're right here and I'm ready to go, but still trying to just take them last moments to get my head fully right, get that energy at 100% so that I can do the same thing I did this summer with my fall classes. So very, very excited and in a good mood due to that grading. So yeah, we'll make sure we jump. I'm feeling real comfortable in this new furniture. So we'll jump right into the agenda. And we hope that you like the aesthetics as well. And before we get any further, I gotta remind y'all for real, be on the lookout for this light. And when I say this light, there's not too many lights in this room, so just think about it. And when we double back on it, we're gonna all have an aha moment together. Okay. Let's start with the Warriors. For those of you who are in the Bay Area, this is your team. Unless you jump ship to like Sac or something, which is crazy.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Smokey Rob. But there's not a whole lot to talk about right now. As you know, we're kind of gearing up for the season. We've all been told the troops are as is. No major changes coming on this roster. We've already talked about how we feel about the roster. But I was reading some articles and just going over some things, about this offseason. And I think what came to mind for me is that it's very clear that the majority of the NBA does not want to do business with the Warriors.
What's that about, y'all? What's that about?
And because we've given better deals out, we're sitting here, we're very clearly down to compete in a way that is putting our resources on the table in a multitude of different forms, right? And so when I look back and see kind of, this last article that really put me over the top is the whole Jazz releasing that marketing was never really out on the table, and they were just trying to draw us away and draw our energy into something that really was never going to happen. And the reality is Danny Ainge is so conniving that like I wouldn't put it past him. Is that something that we should cry about? No. I mean, teams are totally allowed to do this. I just think it's something that's not necessarily talked about enough. And, as a true Warriors fan, somebody that's been here from Larry Hughes, the Chris Mills, all the Eric Dampier days, there was a point where everybody didn't even care to do business with us because we were so butt.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy to see now we're on the other end, and somehow they always find a way to hate on the Bay. Whether it's Oakland, San Francisco, either we're too butt and you don't want to deal with us, or we're too good.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening often with the Celtics. I don't see that happening often with the Lakers. Nobody wants them to be butt. So people come running to save them and all that. But the last thing that I'll say to this point is just it also made me realize we're the last team standing. And that also has somewhat to do with the continuity of the team, right? The ability to keep our stars for the majority of the time. But
sorry, Clay.
When you look across the NBA, though, teams have kind of morphed into new teams, and there's now a shuffle and who's at the top of the West specifically. And we're really the only team that has remained the same and hasn't really had to fully hit the rebuild button. What do you think about that statement? And do you think there's truth in that? Do you think I'm kind of just going off too far off the rocker and looking too far into things? What do you think the take?
Nah, I think it really comes down to the fact that nobody wants to join them anymore. Everybody's trying to beat them. In terms of the old regime,
absolutely,
you still got guys teaming up with KD, but it's still just kind of like not a complete team. And then you got guys with LeBron, not a complete team when they have the availability to go get guys. And it seems like at every turn, it's like, oh, we just missed out, so we had to go for another guy. Oh, we just missed out when we go into the Lakers for Chris Paul back in the day. Then they went and got who they get? Russell Westbrook instead of getting somebody better than that for their team when they had the opportunities. Yeah. I just think nobody wants to be a part of Steph's legacy or LeBron's legacy or any of the old heads' legacies who are continuing to win championships. I think they all want to do it for themselves at this point. And I think that's why it's been such a lack of interest in coming to the Warriors, because there really is no other excuse. You want to be on a good team, you join Steph Curry because he's going to elevate you and the whole team to a championship level, no matter who else is on the team. And same with LeBron, same with the KD, but they just aren't getting the quality guys, and the players that are usually like the 6th, 7th, 8th men on your team, those are going to teams like the Celtics, where you got Drew Holiday, Al Horford, Derek White, all coming off the bench. It's like you guys got a group of all-stars coming off the bench, which I guess that doesn't work for us anymore because we don't have the Sean Livingstons, we don't have the David West, we don't have those kind of guys that elevate our teams through championships. Even Andrew Bogut, even Zaza Pachulia, just guys who are championship ready, who are veterans for these kind of teams to make a championship run. I think we have just been missing out on those guys especially, and not being able to get 7-footers suitable like the Bogut's that we had back in the day or JaVale McGee back in the day. Just those guys are taking minimums other places, like trying to win in Sacramento, and then trying to win with like the Grizzlies or something. They're just trying to switch up the NBA right now, and I think that's the biggest reason. It's just we'd rather beat them than join them.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me that there's definitely a player thing, but from what I've seen this offseason, it's been much more front office related, where like the players have wanted to come. They're just not able to get over here because the front offices don't want to do deals. And so like they let Paul George walk for nothing. They got nothing. And we were offering them stuff in any other world.
Well, same like Zach LaVine and people like that, where it's like, oh yeah, there was an offer for him with 2 of our players, like Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul. I think something like that for Zach LaVine. And it's like, oh, it just fell through. Like it just didn't have. Is that front office? Is that player? Like, how does that work?
Usually that's front office. Usually it's front office, especially with a lot of these players who are like wide open to a move, like a Zach LaVine who's been openly stating like, yo, please, like get me off this sinking ship. Right. And he's just not the kind of superstar that's going to sit there and go like, he's not even a superstar. Let me chill on that. But he's not the kind of star, let's say, who is going to like make a big, scene out of it. But it's been very clear him and DeMar were like, yo,
that's
free me.
Too. You know like what I mean? DeMar DeRozan going to Sac. It's like, bro, you're telling me you'd rather go to Sacramento than the Warriors? Like, how many years you got left? Do you think like you really think that you're going to take the Sacramento Kings to the championship? I think you're a piece away to the Warriors compared to you a piece away for the Sacramento Kings. I don't think you make them a championship team. I think if you have Steph Curry, then you have a chance. But you're going to choose De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, who have choked every time they've been in the playoffs or anywhere close. Like, it's just decisions like that where it's like, wow, like, what?
But again, that's the front office, because the front office chose where he was going. So he didn't it wasn't like DeMar was like, I want to go to Sac. it was just like they were looking at packages and they were like, "This is the they gave them
Death
probably
to the Warriors from
yeah,
other GMs.
yeah. I mean, the reality is we've had better offers than what teams like Sac were putting on the table, and DeMar doesn't have nothing to do with accepting that type of stuff. So it's really like a lot of teams don't want to see Mike Dunleavy succeed because they know that Joe Lacob's pockets are endless.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that we're going to always be down to spend. Like the fact that we were down to go in on a max on PG was pretty surprising to me, but I think it just shows that that's how we're going to go at it regardless. And so I think a lot of teams have now, like you said, come to fully understand our regime, who we bring to the table. And a lot of them have unanimously decided we've had enough. You know what I'm saying?
Choke you out, GMs.
You're gonna go ahead and pay the luxury every year. You're gonna do this and that every year. Fine, that's cool. Well, there are things we can do in our power still that can sway that. Do
you think we also like take some of the blame for our front office as well in terms of just like them saying, "Hey, we want to get under the tax bracket and everything," because that could be
we weren't going to be
to it.
Yeah, we weren't going to be with Paul George.
Yeah.
So I think that what they've made clear is if we feel like we can compete, they're not tripping off the tax.
Yeah.
No team is really trying to go into the second.
Mm-hmm.
That's just across the league. The second is so terrifying for the league right now. Unless you are the Celtics and you really feel like it's your championship to lose, I don't feel like any team would want to be in the second apron because of how hard it is even to get out of the second apron and how much of a terrible bonus prize it is to then just fall into the first apron. It's not even like you're getting, huge relief, other than just, that second apron is obviously horrific.
Right.
But, if you think that you can truly compete with a team like the Celtics or you are the Celtics, then whatever. At that point, you are on the, like, KD clock, basically, where you're just like, I mean, whatever it takes to win these, I'll look back on it later and hope the memories fulfill that. But, I mean, I think it's with the new way the league is structured and the salary cap and all that stuff, I agree with the approach of like, hey, we're letting everybody know we will spend big. But
we got to while we got Steph.
Right. But, we're also not going to blindly spend it. We're not going to sit here and just be handing it out and not competing. So there's the Warriors in a nutshell right now, guys. I hope that we're all able to, soak in the glory days and be wishful for better days in the future.
Stay positive, guys.
Yeah, better days can easily come.
Smile.
I think this team will be a lot better than people think. But at the same time,
tallest person 6'10".
At the same time, well, yeah, I mean. And at that, 6'10" is really not going to play a lot. You know what I mean? But, like, even that, I mean, like, we're one of those teams that it'll be interesting to see how it works. But we've done it before, and if there's a team that can, it'll be us. For me, again, it's going to hinge on, is Kuminga worth having in the starting lineup at the 4, right? And if he is, then we could be one of the hardest teams to guard, right? And it'll be nearly impossible to try to match up with us on offense. Will we be able to truly defend in a half-court set? Absolutely not. But
wouldn't be going for 50.
We would have to hope that we would outscore some teams, and we'd also have to hope that some of our secondary rotations are going to be a little bigger, right? And we do have some size to make them bigger, right? Like if we're going to go ahead and have Jackson Davis off the bench, then that's a big to use. If we're having Looney off the bench, these are bigs that can make, depending on how we truly feel about Trace, that can become our biggest lineup, right? So there can be ways where if Steve Kerr is approaching it correctly, and I do believe we'll be in the hunt for this trade deadline to really make a splash when a player becomes available. I think that it's about hanging around this year. The West is going to be really, really tough. But, I do believe our roster is better than last year. And last year, man, our record was not bad. And if you take away those 15 games, Draymond gets suspended.
Never know.
You know that. I mean, really, with our record with Draymond was pretty damn good. You know, and so we had in that 15 game, you know, absence of his, we were playing terrible ball.
Yeah.
So you know, you never know. On to the rest of the NBA. What rookies do you think are going to have the biggest impact this year? You know, just again on the outset, it's a little tough to tell with a weaker class,
Right.
but let's take a stab at it.
Can impact be like negative as well?
Sure. I mean, however you want to take it. Sure.
I think like Alex Sarr is going to be kind of like a wasteful pick for the Hawks. I think that's going to be rough for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Risha Shear for the Hawks, Sarr for the Pistons is just going to be wasteful picks. I don't think those teams develop people very well. I know, what was it, Jalen Johnson?
Yeah,
has been doing well for them as a young player, but their team as a whole is filled with young guys who are kind of underperforming. So I think he's just lost in the shuffle, as well as Alexander Sarr, who's Detroit hasn't figured out a big man for years now, and the only person who looks positive is Jalen Duren, and I think he's going to gobble up all the minutes over there. And I even think you got to put in, you know, other guys that they have before you even entertain Sarr, because the way he's looked in the preseason and summer league and all that is just it's been terrible. I think Reed Shepherd is going to be like a good slow it down guy for the Rockets. I think that was a good pick. I think him and Sengun, when he comes back, can be a good, powerful duo, as well as getting Jalen Green more open. I think it opens him up and makes it more free for him to kind of be able to have more lanes to go in and then kick out to a Reed Shepherd rather than always having to force the ball in for a layup or a dunk. So hopefully he can help the guys start to play more cerebral and as a team and not just as five guys on the court. You know, other than that, I think what you had mentioned before, or who you mentioned before, Klingon for the Blazers.
Yep.
I think he's going to be somebody who's just going to be a solid, consistent guy
Yep.
compared to like an Aiton who's just kind of up and down.
Right.
I think he's going to be somebody who can give you double-doubles straight off the rip. Yep. Not even just like as the focal point of the offense, just somebody who's getting boards, putting it back up, or just going on the pick and roll, going to the basket, getting easy buckets. So yeah. I think those guys are going to be have a huge impact, albeit a couple guys I think are going to be more negative, while the other guys I think will be positive for their teams.
Absolutely. Yeah, for me, you know, I definitely agree with all those.
Oh, wait. And then what's Williams, Cody Williams? Is that who it is?
Yeah, Cody Williams.
I think Cody Williams is going to be pretty similar to his brother. Mm-hmm. I think they both have the same kind of drive and the same kind of skills and the drive to like do good in practice and actually improve on their skills year by year.
Right.
So I think he's going to be another solid rookie.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all those. I think those are great looks. For me, obviously, I got a little more of some sleepers. I think Sarr is going to be a dud as well. I think he'll be all right. I think bigs are really tough, and I think that he just doesn't have I don't think he has the maturity in the game yet of basketball to where it'll catch up to what's expected out of a first overall pick. So I think he might get drowned in the expectations. I think Ricochet or Ricochet, however you say his name. Again, guys, in the comments, if I'm butchering it,
all our French folks, let us know.
Go ahead and put me on game. I think he has a shot to be solid, and I think that is because of his passing acumen. I think that he can distribute. I think he's smart enough. And I think he'll be kind of like a
Ricky Rubio,
like a better shooting Josh Giddey, you know, kind of hype.
That's pretty good. Shoot, man.
Yeah.
That's Josh Giddey. That's damn near triple double.
Right. Not athletic, you know. And the question, you know, I think he'll be better defensively. But the question is going to come with, in my opinion, is going to really be the jump shot overall. Yeah. Like it's better than Giddey's, but like that's not saying anything. And he's way better than Giddey on defense.
Okay.
You know.
So tell me something, man.
Yeah, like I think at 6'10", I think he has a real shot. to be a contributor. He's very young though, and it'll be interesting to see. They're kind of playing with the 2 timeline thing too, which is dangerous.
We know all about that.
Oh my goodness, heartbreaking. But I have Tyler Kolek from the Knicks, so this is a Marquette guy. This is a guy that I think will kind of have that Peyton Pritchard, T.J. McConnell kind of vibe to him. Very smart, very cerebral. He's going to understand, what needs to be done. He's a real coach's player. Mature guy. Already, older. He's been through the D1 program at a school that's known to kind of put out mature players.
Yeah, for sure.
And kind of, a little more roughneck players.
Yeah.
Which I think all that fits right into what the Knicks need. And they sure could use some relief for Jalen Brunson. Oh, my God. So, I think he could end up earning a lot more minutes than people think. He was a second-round pick, so I know a lot of people are probably noit on him, or nuit, however you say that in French. But you're going to need to wake up this season. Terrence Shannon Jr. is another one for the Wolves. This is a guy from Illinois who's an absolute firecracker. This man can score, all 3 levels, has that dog in him. Kind of reminds me a little bit of, a lefty Ant, just in terms of, that attacking approach.
Big praise.
Yeah, that's big praise. But I just want to mean that in the attitude sense of like, I want that ball. I want to go ahead and put buckets up on you. I'm not scared. I think he was a perfect pick for the Wolves. And I think they knew exactly what they were getting in him. Of like, we need this guy who, he can play defense, but what he's going to be there for is to stretch the field, come in there and give what they were missing last year, which is when Ant went out, who's going to score the ball?
It seemed like this draft, too, that they really did make an effort to, like, make the moves they wanted to make. It's like trading up and getting Rob Dillingham. Man. It seemed like they were making moves the whole time and getting exactly who they wanted.
All for the purpose of improving that offense. That was the number 1 defense in the league. I think they could vie for it again. And so I think, it was very clear for them.
They need some more offensive power.
You don't have firepower. You're not going to get very far. Next, I have the Cowboy, Cal Bear, as Mac Dre would say. We got my boy, Jalen Tyson, who I've been big up in ever since he transferred to Cal from Texas Tech. This guy, was on a very poor Cal team, but performing all the way throughout. Was our best player far and away. There was a second guy, we had our big center, and I'm forgetting his name right now, but he was a beast too. So I won't say far and away, but he was our best player, clearly. And this is a guy who's 6'7", really reminds me of the Martin twins.
Yeah.
Who are just do it all kind of guys, who are going to find a way into a rotation.
Couple Jags.
Yeah, I feel like just another guy that's crazy. But in all seriousness, both of those Martin twins see floor.
Yeah,
for real. And there's a lot of just another guys who don't see floor.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Like the Hornets, and then what?
Hornets and the
Heat, who play all second round or undrafted players.
Yeah. But he's one of them, and he's serving. You know what I mean? He be getting out there and doing his thing. And then Caleb Martin is, like one of the more consistent Hornets players, which, again, isn't saying a lot, but you're in the league, bro. And there's a lot of guys who are getting drafted very high for the Hornets who aren't doing So, But Brandon Miller is actually saucing, though, so I won't throw dirt on him. But anyway, back to the list. I think Jalen Tyson could find his way into really giving help at that 3. Cavs have always been looking for that 3, whether it's Karis LeVert, whether it's been Isaac Okoro,
Cedi Osman.
I don't know who to put there. I think he could eventually put his stamp on that spot.
Okay.
Next, I have Cam Spencer, the UConn, the champion.
Lacrosse superstar.
Transferred in right on time. And he's with the Grizzlies. And I think, if you know anything about the Grizzlies,
you're a shooter.
They need shooters. The Grizzlies always need shooters. Ja Morant needs shooters. And this is a guy who, right. This is a guy who also, he's
he's a shooter.
He can't be a shooter anymore.
In and off the court.
If any of us had true hope of him becoming a shooter one day, we know all that went out the window with that IG stuff. So, I think Cam Spencer will be that shooter that Ja Morant so wanted to be. and he's also a facilitator.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a guy who's going to be able to keep that ball moving, which is another big thing for Memphis. They don't have enough playmakers.
Another cerebral, UConn grad.
Yeah.
Somebody was there for a while.
Yes.
So older player. So yeah, it's going to be a good move for them.
Absolutely.
Same thing that when they got Desmond Bain, another older player that was more mature and ready to play day one.
Mm-hmm. The other UConn guy I would say is Stephon Castle.
Spurs?
Spurs. I think him and Wemby are going to have quite a joyous duo partnership.
CP3 mentoring.
CP3 will be mentoring, which I'm super glad he's there because of the fact that
we don't want him here.
That for sure. But Castle's been thinking, hey, I'm a point guard, and the reality is you're a 6'6" guy with a large frame. Like, we're not talking about a frail 6'6".
Yeah.
This is 6'6". Baby Kawhi, and you're talking about you want to play point guard. Well, I'm glad they signed CP3 just to get it in your head real fast. That won't be happening. So go ahead and guard somebody at the 2 where we need you. And, in the long run of your career, if you're a great playmaker, that's only going to add to your versatility wherever you are on the court, my friend. But just remember, at 6'6", with that versatile kind of defending body, hard to justify you sticking at the 1 with the amount of need there is elsewhere to guard people.
They're only playing Jeremy Shohan at point guard because they want Wemby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't think that's just going to be you too.
Yeah. Yeah. And exactly. That's real though. And then, of course, lastly, I would say Reed Shepherd, who he highlighted. I won't go into it too much. I just think this kid is a baller. He's a coach's son, plays like it. And I think he's everything Houston doesn't have right now.
Yeah.
They have every kind of young horse in the stable but a Reed Shepherd. I'm very excited to see how they decide to implement him. I'm a little concerned because of all the young horses. Will they truly let him out? But if they do, I think they won't regret it. Best offseason move for the NBA before we move on from the NBA?
I thought that, as much as I talked about earlier, that DeMar DeRozan going to the Kings was the best thing they could get. Like I was surprised that they were able to draw him in.
Absolutely.
So I think of any team that really was on the verge that makes the push to 5-6 seed.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you guys finally got you a real bucket getter when it's crunch time.
Right.
You guys have been kind of faltering when it's been in the game.
Facts.
You've got somebody who you can just toss it to. He's going to do his mid-range thing and handle business. So I thought, for me, that was the best move for the team that probably needed it the most.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I love the DeMar move because I just think they needed it to stay alive. I'm going to say Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
I think that from a on-court, off-court standpoint, just what a splash. And I think that, that Knicks team was already dangerous.
The Villanova Knicks.
Yeah, they were already dangerous. So to give them more just oomph, I think is going to we're going to end up looking back on that going, Brooklyn needed to do that. That they didn't have a choice, but it might be the Thanos last stone.
Especially if your boy steps up too. What's his name?
Who we talking about?
The rookie or the young guy that you talked about on the
Kolek. Yep,
yeah,
Tyler Kolek.
If he steps up too,
yes, sir.
That's even more firepower.
Yes, sir. Because they definitely, if there's one thing they lack, even with Brunson, it's playmaking. They still aren't at that level of some of those other top teams in point guard playmaking. So you're 100% on that. My smaller move that I would highlight and to really take a look at, and when I talk about like impact, I'm talking about like unlocking a 5 is Isaiah Hartenstein. I think that him going to that Thunder team, he's going to be perfect. The way he plays, the style they play, he's going to slot right in.
Very Steven Adams like.
Man, and even more sleek. He's going to be able to get up and down the floor a lot faster than the majority of these 5s. He's got a sweet touch
to Chet.
Yep, sweet touch around the rim. I think that he'll just be able to really give that team a much larger front court presence and a much larger threat.
And a little veteran savvy.
100%. Next, we'll go to the NFL, National Football League, also known as the No Fun League.
It's coming back.
And it's fun. I'm kidding. I'm just saying all this like drama around basically every wide receiver at this point. Who knows?
This man's been stressed over Aiyuk this whole time.
I mean, but I'm talking about. You look around the league. It's like Jamar Chase, C.D. Lamb, all these guys. It's like, welcome to the party, man. The
markets don't match.
Welcome to the party. It's gonna be horrifying to watch how all this plays out if you are a part of those respective fan bases.
When supply and demand doesn't go your way,
right,
it's bad right now. There's too many good receivers for everybody to get paid.
Right,
that's what they're saying. Man.
Right. At this point, let me find my camera. Brandon Aiyuk. I'm at the table. We got the contract here. We're ready to go. We have zero idea what it is that you're doing at this point. None. And you know what I have to tell you? And this is straight from the horse's mouth. You are starting to wear your welcome thin across the league here, buddy. You're starting to look like nobody knows what you want. And nothing's worse than that. You're like the Joker then. Nobody can figure out what it is the guy wants. What's your motivation? Right? Because all of a sudden it looked like winning. You don't want to go to the Pats. You don't want to go to the Browns. Right? But then Steelers give a ballpark, give a contract in the ballpark that we're talking, the Niners. And there's a dilemma for you.
Well, you've seen the Steelers though so far. Whew, I can see why you don't want to go there, boy.
But he wants to go to the Steelers. So I'm like, if you want to go to the Steelers, it must be. And we've all seen the memes of Mike Tomlin looks like your daddy. Whew. So hey, man, it must be the case. But all I'm gonna say is, regardless of what happens, in all seriousness, the update that I've gotten most recently is it would be we're looking at a 60-40 chance that Aiyuk re-signs with the Niners right now, and it was looking like it was 75-25 a couple days ago when they said that we were working out the fourth year of the contract and that 3 of the 4 years had been worked out. Well, I don't think we're that far. Mm-hmm. I think that, and if we are, then shame on you, Brandon. Then shame on you, bro. If we're talking about a fourth year issue here, bro, then, I saw a great point. And this might be the best one because I love the Niners. Shout out Niner gang. Forever loyal, all that. But let me be real about this. Teams get paid when they win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Notice what I just said. Teams get paid when they win a Super Bowl. We've been to a Super Bowl. I think you misheard me. There was no win. You know what I'm saying? And so get right or get lost. Like, understand the scope, the magnitude of what's going on. We are in the hunt for Super Bowls right now. We're one of the very few teams in the window to truly, year in and year out, go chase this thing. The Lombardi. Okay? And you guys are acting like we won those 2. What? And we've seen how this has worked for everybody else, right? Let's talk about Emmanuel Sanders. Let's talk about the guys from the last iteration of this. Mm-hmm. They all were duds when they dipped. Butt cheeks. So, Brandon Aiyuk, you may be more talented than those guys, but you're one wipe away from being butt cheeks when it comes to that kind of stuff. Okay? You think you're going to serve on the Pats, doggy?
Drake May.
Dog, you're a 700-yard receiver on the Pats with 3 TDs. The Cleveland Browns, Mr. We'll run it until we all die. 850 yards, 5 tugs, just off the strength of maybe Deshaun Watson.
They said Njoku's getting more TDs than you.
And bruh, you want to go to Pitt and split stuff with George Pickens, who's raw, and is the same kind of receiver as you, bruh. Yeah, it's not a Debo. It's not, you be mad about Debo, but Debo gets touches you can't do. We're not sitting here going, let me line Brandon up at running back. Let me, no, bro. And you're not as good of a blocker. You know what I mean? And so we all understand your role. That's why you work so well in it. But why would you want to go to Pitt where there's another receiver just like you, who wants to play in the X,
Mm-hmm.
who wants all the X routes, and you have straight tuna can sandwich quarterbacks back there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about this is the nasty tuna stuffed in a 7-day-old roll quarterbacks.
It's all bad over there.
So
Drake May, Justin Fields, or Russell Wilson.
Yo.
Those are your options right
or
there.
best offense in football, like at least on paper. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, come on, bro. Like you're looking around at all Pro Bowlers, all NFL top 100 players, and you're like, yeah, it's about time to leave. Huh? Enough of you on this show. Anyway, 60-40, but at this point, you're pissing everybody off. Like the Pats are mad at you. The Browns are mad at you. The only team who doesn't seem to be mad at you is Pittsburgh. And even they're starting to get mad at you because they're sitting here going,
or not?
Aren't we good enough? Aren't we good enough? Are you? Come on. Anyway, Raiders. Rawr. On to the Raiders. Minshew named the starter. Talk about quarterback dilemmas.
Let's go.
Minshew
mania.
I'm gonna let Mitch take a stab at this. We'll see how realistic he takes this. What do you think the Raiders' real plan was at quarterback going into this offseason? Because it clearly couldn't have been this. Do you think it was signing Tom Brady? Do you think it's drafting Michael Penix?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that was the biggest thing that we missed out on is we didn't draft anybody at the quarterback position because I feel like we were strongly trying to consider having Michael Penix be our guy.
Yeah.
The fact that we wanted him, but also didn't try and give Chicago a 6th-round pick for Justin Fields as well.
Insane.
Doesn't make sense to me.
None.
You could have had both of them. I mean, you could have had at least one of them. And fits kind of the mold. Obviously, like people think Michael Penix has the arm to be good, just be in the pocket and just move around, but I don't care. Like we just needed somebody who can extend plays. We have a much better line than Pittsburgh, much better line than what the Chicago Bears had. So I think there would be an opportunity to do things with a Justin Fields. But yeah, I did think that
much better receivers.
Yeah, much better receivers, everything.
That's the point. That's the actual. That's the actual point.
Yeah, it's just like it's a much better team in general.
Yeah.
So I feel like he could have he wouldn't have been running for his life.
No.
He's getting sacked every other play when he's on these other teams. So I think us not making that move was a loss. I think us not getting Michael Penix because the Falcons just decided, I don't know, maybe they just I don't know what they're thinking.
Favorite player in draft history type hype. That's what they decided. Like
so
we can't pass him.
They kind of ruined that for us, and I think we just didn't know how to recover from that. I don't think we had a plan B.
Clearly. Yeah.
So I think with Gardner Minshew already having him, it just comes down to a veteran being on the field, I think.
Yeah.
Aiden O'Connell hasn't been showing the signs that maybe like obviously a Brock Purdy did for the 49ers or just a young quarterback that people weren't thinking about as a starter and then showing up, kind of showing his true colors. Maybe this isn't for him yet. Maybe he does need a few more years.
Maybe this isn't for him yet.
Just like in the sense of just he's not making the progressions
right. No,
as a young quarterback. Maybe he needs another year or two. And I think Minshew has just shown that he can carry a team. He may not put up ridiculous numbers, but he's going to be consistent and usually do the right thing. Probably do check downs when he's supposed to.
For sure.
Play the role. And when you got guys like Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Zamir White in the backfield, Alexander Madison in the backfield. There's just a lot of options for you. So I think just getting the ball out quick so that those players can make moves has always been a benefit. Devontae Adams gets a lot of yak. Brock Bowers was known for that at Georgia. Just get him the ball. He'll get you an extra 20. Kind of reminiscent a little to what George Kittle does for the 49ers.
Absolutely.
A whole lot of yak. So I think he can be good. It's hard for me to fathom why he can't just be consistent and just find the right guy out there when you have these kind of weapons. So I'm hoping with the guys that we have, he's able to flourish and make plays with his feet and bring back Minshew Mania in a way. Again, it doesn't have to be he's throwing for 5,000 yards,
right?
But he is getting the guys when they're open. He's hitting them. You know what I mean? Right. So just matriculate down the field. That's a good football term to use. You know, matriculate down the field. Don't have many turnovers.
Yep.
don't overextend yourself. Don't try and be Pat Mahomes when you're not. And just be consistent with and throw the ball to a wide open Devontae because he's going to be open 89, 90% of the time. So I think he could be solid as if he's just not doing a lot of turnovers and trying to be extra out there. Just get the guys. If there's a check down to get, throw that check down. Hopefully, Zamir White in the offensive line could be a good helper, and we could have a good run game as well.
Right.
That would really help out too. So I think it's the best move that we can make in the circumstance that we're in. Have a veteran there so that he can make the right moves because Aiden O'Connell, maybe just the arm, the decision making right now just isn't up to par.
Yeah. I think it was a move for DA, really.
Yeah.
I think it was like this is going to be a guy he's known to be able to work with
a receiver,
an X. Yeah, he's known. He's had a couple of situations where Michael Pittman, these guys where he's made it clear I know who to get the ball to.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to try to sit here and do too much of a spread full offense. I'm really going to work the game plan and work to our best players.
Mm-hmm.
And, for quarterbacks like that, I think that's obviously the way to go. Stay within yourself. I think that Jacoby Myers, is going to be the one who, takes the biggest hit from that just because Minshew's arm strength, everybody knows, isn't it. Yeah. And so, Jacoby's known for kind of taking the top off and doing the longer routes. Mm-hmm. So, we all know DA can dominate the middle of the field. We all know DA can dominate first through 10 yards. So it'll be interesting to see those guys. Him and Brock Bowers, I think, will eat. With
also, who I think is going to eat too for us, that kind of might have the Tank Dell kind of effect, is Trey Tucker. He's been sauce for us. He's a quick slot receiver who can go out wide sometimes. Yeah, sometimes like a Tyreek.
Yeah.
I think he's somebody under the radar who could really show up for us and be another good threat.
Absolutely. So there you go. That's a little Niners and Raiders update. We're covering the Bay fully here. We got y'all. It's going to be, as the seasons progress, we're right around the corner. Mm-hmm. As we promised, we're going to have more football, a whole build-up similar to how we did fantasy football for real-life football. So don't trip. We got y'all. Mm-hmm. But we do have, before we move on, 2 more little sections of the NFL for y'all, which is the power rankings. Yeah. I know y'all are probably very familiar with this. ESPN is what we're going off of. They are known for starting these and generating these. Mm-hmm. Usually it's weekly. Obviously, in the offseason, they're going to do it a little less frequently. 2 days ago, we did have the most recent update to it. So I thought you and I would go over the top 10.
Raiders top 5, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know it.
I thought we
yeah. I thought we were being serious here, but no.
Right. I thought we could go over. Let me pull this up right now. Perfect. Okay, so we have ESPN Kansas City at 1. Kansas City. I do have ESPN Plus, actually.
Oh, nice.
Kansas City at 1, which they've plateaued at 1. This is just by default.
Back-to-back champs.
I'll read it out, and then we can go over how we feel about the list. 1, Kansas City. They were at 1 last week. 2, Baltimore. They were they were at 3 last time. SF is at 3. We were at 2. Detroit is 4. They were at 4, I guess. 5 was Philly. They looked to be at 5 as well prior. 6 was Houston. They also were at 6.
Looks like people stay.
Buffalo Bills 7. I'm sorry. They were at 8. Miami's at 8. They were at 7. Cincinnati Bengals 9. They were 9. And lastly, we have the Green Bay Packers.
Wow. Damn.
At 10, and they were 10. Cheeseheads getting a little hype off of close game with us, I feel. I've been hearing it all off season. Oh my God, bro, you gave us your best shot. We almost, it was like, bro, we played the worst game we could have and scraped by. And thank God we played the Jared Dudleys that are the Green Bay Packers.
And that's what winners do, right? They win.
Straight up. We're going to get by regardless. Exactly. So needless to say, I don't have a lot of love for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. But let's start at 1. And then let's work our way back down the list, respectively.
I mean, deservedly so. The Chiefs, number one, back-to-back champs. Pat Mahomes already throwing behind-the-back passes during preseason.
What a dog.
I mean, they're just kind of doing what they want. They just feel like no matter what, if they have – I mean, it's kind of like how the Patriots were when they had Tom Brady. It's like, as long as we have that guy, we just are always in the game. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah, they should be on top for sure. I agree with that one.
2, Baltimore Ravens.
I would say this is more of like a Madden type of thing where it's just like Lamar is kind of like the Mike Vick back in the day where it's just like there's so much versatility, but I don't know, they kind of come up short every year. So until they show a little bit more, I think the team after them maybe should still be number 2 rather than number 3.
Baltimore's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah.
3, SF Niners.
I think the Niners have shown consistency through the last few years. They have the all-pro players. Yeah, they seem to be a team that's always in contention. Going to be the top of the class on the NFC side. So I think they should be number 2, in my opinion, over the Baltimore Ravens, who have lost a bunch of times comparatively to the 49ers, who are consistently in either the conference championship game, if not the Super Bowl.
4, Detroit Lions.
This seems like if the trajectory keeps going up kind of pick.
For sure.
I think it's year by year. It's really hard to be consistent in the NFL.
It is Jared Goff after all.
Yeah, it's Jared Goff. And I feel like they're also like, I don't want to put this on him at all, but like, it does kind of seem like they're an Amon-Ra injury away from like not being contention for the playoffs. So I think when your team's that really like dependent on making sure these players stay healthy, and then you got Jahmyr Gibbs going to be potentially out for a while, it's going to be tough for them to win every game. And hopefully that Dan Campbell grittiness can, power them through.
Right.
But, it'll be tough. So I don't know. I think there's other teams that may be a little more stacked that could be above them, but they're still going to be a tough team.
Yeah. No, I like what you said about the Dan Campbell stuff because they won a lot of those. A lot of those decisions that he made to just be gutsy. Mm-hmm. And we all know no matter how good you are, that's pretty much 50-50.
Yeah.
So it could swing the other way. Number 5, Philadelphia Eagles.
I think the Eagles, they stacked up. I mean, they lost Jason Kelce, obviously, Hall of Famer in the future, but they get a Saquon Barkley. And that's just even more to the offense. This is a team that does want to run the ball and be effective. They have some good options with Jalen Hurts and him going back and forth. And then you also got Devontae Smith and you got A.J. Brown. So just add more to the offense. If the defense can just be somewhat consistent, I think they're another team that's going to vie for a conference championship.
Absolutely. Number 6, Houston Texans.
Houston Texans, this all relies on C.J. Stroud and if he's going to have a good season this year. If he keeps going up and getting better each game like he did all last season, I think they have a chance. They got the Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Joe Mixon in the backfield. They've only stacked it for him. All they did is stack it for him, giving them the best opportunity. So if he goes, they go.
100%.
D'Amico Ryans is going to have a good defense at all times.
Always.
So if the offense is going, they're going to be a tough team for sure.
100%. 7, we have the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills. Let's see if you guys can create magic in Keon Coleman.
Right.
If he can be you guys' new talisman, I think that could be a great combo of having him with Josh Allen. But they have taken some steps back.
Yep.
They've lost some key players. They kind of seem to be, out of all the top teams, in the most shuffle of making a transition from last year. So again, another team that's heavily reliant on Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Can he continue to run as much as he has in the past? Can these receivers that he have now step up for him, and can they survive in the cold weather? It's tough to see, but they're only getting older, so I think that's one of the biggest things in the top 10 with them is that they're starting to be an aging team, trying to make a transition of like the old to the new, and might just be too much of a flux right now.
That division has gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Miami and the Jets were both been on the up and up. Well,
speaking of,
here we go. Number 8, Miami Dolphins.
Again, can lightning strike twice in terms of offensive explosiveness? You got a bunch of guys who are running 4.3s, 4.2s. Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert in the backfield. Can they be a dynamic duo again? Can Achane stay healthy? Then you got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Tua, can you get it to them? That's all you need to do.
Can they all stay healthy?
Yeah, can they all stay healthy? We got questions with both of those receivers at all times during the season. So they're a team that it's like they really got to be hidden and they really got to be healthy.
Yeah. Number 9, Cincinnati
Bengals, there's just a lot of controversy going on with Jamar Chase right now. It's making it tough to see how he's going to fit in with the offense. Obviously, he's the best one out there, so he's going to get his numbers if he does show up.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of is messing up, I think, the cohesiveness of the offense right now, not having him out there just to work around with the other guys. I think that's him and Joe Burrow coming back another year off this injury, seeing if he can come back and be the guy he was when he took the team to the championship.
Yep.
I think that's why they're closer to the bottom of the list, because I think this is more of like a prove-it season for them after a disappointing year last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be big on their defense as well, because they 2 years ago had a top 15 defense, and last year they were like 26 or 28 or something. It was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Number 10, the Green Bay Packers.
This is just ESPN trying to get clicks, I think,
For real.
or just trying to appease the OGs and the true NFLers of the Green Bay Packers. But yeah, man, you got Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. I mean, if we were to talk fantasy football, one of my guys to avoid is Josh Jacobs. I don't believe in him. Like, I don't know with that team. I just don't know how they're going to divvy it up. Are they going to stay with the run game, or are they going to try and open it up since they have a guy in Jordan Love that they really believe in? I don't really believe in their wide receiving core as well. I think they're a bunch of 50%. You know, you never know. Flip a coin. Are you going to have a good game or not? So I don't see too much with the Packers. Shouts out to them for even getting this nod. I think there's just a lot of energy going towards Jordan Love, thinking he's like, oh, he's going to be the next Aaron Rodgers. They actually did figure it out right, and they did pick the right guy at that time. But hey, let's see you do it again. That's all I'm saying. But there's other teams like a Cowboys that could be a team that could be above them, and they are 11th on the list. But there's some other teams that I feel like maybe could. I think even like the Rams are even a sneaky team as well that could be a little bit higher than the Packers, who, I don't know, just they had one good year and now everybody thinks they're on a high trajectory. Yeah, and nobody's even talking about the Jets as if Aaron Rodgers is just done. So, there's just some teams out there that I think should garner a little more hype than the Packers.
100%. That's a perfect way to close out the top 10. He answered what I was going to ask, which is just, is there any surprise? And so clearly it's Green Bay, and he named a couple teams that is reason to be surprised. Obviously, those being left out, they could be even higher than 10. But obviously, with that last on the list and that being a surprising name, that's who he's going to go after. So that is what it is. Next week, we'll make sure we do the NFL Top 100 dropped. So we'll make sure we do an extensive coverage of the top 100. We're not going to go through the whole 100, but we're going to highlight some of the great, some of the main picks out of each of the crops of players. They do it by, numbers each time. So we'll pick, 5 or so from each of their little crops of players, and we'll kind of review, biggest surprises, some of our favorite players, and just kind of go over the list in more detail next week. So don't worry, we did say we were going to cover it, but in just the sake of time, we're going to make sure that we give a full segment to that. We don't want to rush it. We do have the U.S. men's national team before we close out, but I want to let Mitch. Did you have? Oh,
I was just going to say NCAA football is coming this weekend. Yes. So that's something I'm excited to get about. That's going to be coming about. We got Florida State and Georgia Tech on Saturday. So Get excited, man. Real football is coming back. I know it's just been preseason so far, but let's get excited, man. NCAA season, all these new conferences, all the new teams, man. It's going to be exciting.
Attaboy. Yes, yes. Cal, we're hoping and praying for y'all. But yeah, so lastly, we got the U.S. men's national team
big
making
names.
some big news. It's not become official quite yet, but it looks like it looks like they're just short of the finish line with this one. Definitely looks to be 85% complete.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the details have been worked out.
It's that fourth year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Brandon Aiyuk year, as they call it. But with soccer, you can't really, ever be 100% until that pen touches the pad. So we'll wait on that. But Mauricio Pochettino has been big poach. Big my boy. That's an overseas talent that should not be overlooked. This guy has won it at club levels.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is really known for bringing along young players as well, and as a tactician. So he would bring a dimension to the U.S. That we haven't seen, even with Klinsmann. This would be one level above Klinsmann, but definitely the biggest move since him. And if we're able to pull this off, that's about as big of a turnaround as you could make from good old Greg Berhalter.
Well, no, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not saying he's on the same exact level, but I feel like not getting Klopp, this is a very good alternative. This isn't like, oh, now we got to go to some this is like a small little
Once Klopp is gone,
downgrade.
Once Klopp is gone, this was arguably the best coach left on the market.
Yeah,
which is really saying
something. USA, look at you.
Which is really saying something because we're not just saying club coach. We're saying this
guy's known.
Once Klopp made it clear he's going to take the year off, he immediately rose to top name on many, many lists. I know Thierry Henry was getting a long look as well. But, if we're able to get Poachy, man, this dude is a legend. Should be exciting times, and it'll only make more players who have the option to play for the U.S. go ahead and make that commitment and be a part of it. So if you guys were sad about the performance this summer, so were we.
Yeah.
Very disappointed. And this is about as good of a response, in my opinion, as could be done by the U.S. Soccer Federation. So 2 thumbs up. I would give this signing, once it happens, a for sure 9 out of 10, especially for where the United States is and their position in world soccer.
And right now, the way Christian Pulisic is playing, he's got to be super excited to get this kind of coach because he's really been showing out and showing that he's more than just the best player on Team USA.
For sure.
But he's like a top young talent out there in the world.
Absolutely. I think they're all going to benefit, but Pulisic being our absolute GOAT, our God, he will definitely benefit the most. And I think it'll be just wonderful for him not to go through such a big drop off, right, from leaving club and being like, what am I coming home to, right? So anyway, like we said, next week we'll have the NFL Top 100 with some good coverage for y'all. I know you guys got a lot of players that you're looking for in that Top 100. You may have seen the list already. You can go ahead and drop in the comments some players that you're looking forward to hearing us kind of talk about. Maybe we'll add them in on the list. But we'll make sure that we have full coverage for y'all next week on that. Really excited about it. And another one in the books. So thanks again for being here with us. We look forward to being with y'all next week. Signing out from the Say Something fam. Salute.